I wanted to get you on Substack to talk about. We did it last week, and I wanted to do it again and talk about the news and ask you some questions about your process.
Oh gosh.
Well, we
Yeah.
had, yeah.
I think just like everyone else, we're just like trying to keep up.
I know. Well, that's my one of my first questions for you was I looked at your Substack just now to see what you've done for this past week, and you wrote about Oklahoma schools, and you wrote about and drew about, sorry, student visas, Christianity in high schools. How do you, with all the stuff that's coming at us all the time, how do you decide what to do a drawing about?
Yeah, I, I mean, this is the problem. I always feel like I'm behind, I mean, even in Trump's first term, that was a big difference for me when I was doing cartoons because I had been doing them for years before that.
Mhm.
And usually the way it worked is there was maybe one big news story coming out a week, but otherwise, sometimes you even had to look for things because, especially during summer when Congress was always on vacation, we were drawing. I mean, I remember drawing cartoons about people on beaches with their reading books. I can't imagine doing that now.
That's
Yeah,
like a New Yorker cartoon. I think,
yeah, exactly.
I feel like New Yorker cartoons is, I love them and I've been doing them for 40 years. Uh, they're such like, I know, and I know we need diversion. So they're important, but I feel so pressured to do something about what's going on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I still haven't I feel like I still haven't gotten into a very good rhythm with this because as you said, I tackled a couple of subjects, but there were so many other subjects that I
I
could be
know.
doing. And then when you want to do them, the news cycle keeps going on and getting back to Trump and the administration, I think that's their strategy is just to keep throwing things, seeing what hits and what doesn't and
Mhm.
we're all scrambling to comment,
Mhm.
the outrageous unconstitutional things they're doing. So,
Right, right. Distractions, trying to get us to look
yeah,
at something else that's not as important as him destroying our democracy.
right. Yeah. So, what about you? What have you been doing the past week? I mean, I know you post your thoughts every day, which I find very helpful because you talk about things you've read, so I can kind of keep up if I read your.
I try to do it well, try to do it honestly and thoroughly. Although I don't necessarily don't know these things in depth when I read them. I try to read as many articles as I can, and Substack posts by political commentators. Um, but I think my audience has hinted in their responses to what I'm doing that they appreciate those little synopses that I do, and I don't always do them every day. Sometimes actually there's not a lot to write about in terms of what happened that day. Um, there's always something to write about the big picture, um, and then occasionally I'll do a political cartoon. But I think for me, since I post every day, doing a political cartoon every day is not only exhausting for me. I think it's exhausting for the viewers. They need a break, so I post photographs and near
Yeah.
cartoons. So just trying to keep up with the news, keep it as a dialogue with the community, because I think some people are exhausted. They don't have time or the energy to read, the long articles in the New York Times or Guardian or Politico or whatever, and they appreciate hearing like, okay, this is what Liza saw happen today, and it's more of the same sometimes, but it's I don't know, it's a way to keep engaged because I feel like I have to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, there's so many great articles to read, but you only have a certain amount of time. I mean, I'm always
Yeah,
trying to catch up on
yeah,
the
yeah.
major one. But yeah, I think it's important to keep up. And I have friends myself who have basically checked out. They
I
just
know.
want it. And it just, I understand the feeling because I'd like to check out sometimes. But honestly, this isn't the time to do it. You
Mm-mm.
got to keep engaged.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean that you don't, take time out and enjoy things in your life, but you just have to keep up on what's going on because it's going to affect you. It's going to affect your children. You
Right.
know, it's all coming. We've got almost 4 years more of this.
If he survives 4 years, I don't know that he will.
Well, the way he eats, he shouldn't, but you
I
know.
know.
So
um,
I saw a funny photograph, by the way. I have to mention to you. This was obviously early on, but you know how JFK Jr. is always talking about food and how awful it is for you processed food, which I agree with. It's about the only thing I agree with him on. But I saw a picture actually that they took in Air Force One of Trump and JFK Jr. and a couple other people. I think Marco Rubio was in there, and they're all eating hamburgers from
yeah,
McDonald's. I thought
McDonald's. I think I've seen that photograph.
it's like, wait a minute. So yeah,
uh, Speaking of photographs, what I wanted to bring up with you was this photograph that Trump posted on Truth Social. I don't follow him. I probably should, or at least look at his what he's doing. I get this from other people. Like this is
me
a
too.
link. I saw it on social media somewhere, and somebody
People
told me
repost.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
And other people are talking about it. So it's a photograph. If you haven't seen it, it's a very dark sort of film noir picture of Trump walking towards the camera, and he's looking very serious and very, full body, a dark street, you know, and uh, and it says it says he's on a mission from God, and nothing can stop what is coming. Uh, if that's not bad enough, there is, and I wouldn't have noticed this. There's a little cartoon character, Pepe the Frog, which
Mhm.
has become co-opted by the far right, and so to me, this is him trying to rally the base, like stand by, stand back, stand by, Proud Boys, kind of post in that I'm doing God's work, and you got to support me, whatever it takes, uh, and because I think Trump is running into a lot of roadblocks right now, this week particularly. A lot of judges are ruling against him. Um, Putin's not doing what he wants to. So I think
Yeah,
it's kind of
that great,
scary.
that great
It's very
relationship.
scary.
Yeah, that great relationship he's had with Putin. That's really working out well. And yeah, no, I had not seen that. I mean, I've seen. Yeah, I can't figure out with him with Trump and posts. I don't know if someone else is doing it for him, and he really realizes, what's going out there, or if he honestly understands all this. To be perfectly blunt, I don't think he understands a lot of things, so who knows? But yeah, it's definitely a provocation. I mean,
Right.
they're trying to, you know, poke their their followers, you know, just to create support. Yeah.
Do you think he'll be successful in poking the followers? Are they paying attention? Are they gonna rally for
Well,
him?
I don't know about that particular image, but the whole thing about the immigration, they're obviously that's front and center for him, and it's always been about throwing red meat
Hmm.
to his
Hmm.
followers,
Hmm.
because that's what they respond to. I mean, it's a lot of revenge and retribution. His whole approach is, and it appeals to certain people that feel like they've been wronged. Um, so it appeals to our basest instinct. So unfortunately, I think that is his administration's plan,
Hmm.
and we'll see what I mean. I'm hoping the midterms go well. I mean, I'm hoping they even happen. There is a lot of talk. Well, there's talk about that some emergency will happen, and they'll and and Trump will declare a state of emergency, so we don't have those
Well,
elections.
I think you hit on a point. I mean, I hadn't thought about that about the elections, but I do. He has been using emergency. Um, what do they call it? Things like that bill from 1870s where you can get rid of invaders. The president can do that, and that's when he started arresting immigrants. And
Right,
so
but
using, because
that's
it's
for
emergency or being invaded by Venezuelans or something. So and now he also did it again with a recent ruling. What was it? Sorry, my brain's not working very well. But he's using the emergency thing
oh
as
yeah,
a
but
way
those
to.
is
Mhm.
during wartime. To sit there and
Right.
say being invaded by immigrants is,
No,
and that's why the courts are pushing back, which thankfully.
mhm.
are.
you know, they are.
Oh, yeah. Um,
So you wanted to talk about something else. Was it student visas? You wanted to mention that?
well, yeah, that was something that I did my last cartoon on, kind of like a little visual essay, just talking about. Apparently, um, there's a report that the Trump administration is, first of all, they put a hold on student visas, right? And they're thinking about reviewing social media accounts before they give a student visa, which I just thought, oh, sure, I mean, that's just a slippery slope. So I did a
Mhm.
little cartoon showing, how this might all affect us, because I think we need to think about that sometimes, because just because it's happening to someone else, not you
Mhm.
particularly,
Right.
and right now it's immigrants.
Right.
It can easily go to the next step. There's that famous poem about, they came for,
Right.
and it's unfortunately we're kind of going through that right now. And I think all Americans should be disturbed by, just the fact that they're looking at social media accounts, because we do have free speech in this country. You're allowed to have opposing views. You're allowed to have views that offend other people.
Mhm.
You're not allowed to, create. You're not allowed to attack anyone physically for their views,
Right.
but you are allowed to have views that other people don't like.
Right.
That's what it's all based on.
Right.
So, just the fact that they want to look at your social media accounts, it's absurd.
I
For any-
agree. Mhm.
so yeah, that was
And
the last one. Yeah.
and Musk is leaving Washington now, thank God. But he's already done a lot of damage in terms of mining our data. So they have in their hands a lot of information about all of us, which they could use against us. And they're using it against immigrants right now. But
Yeah.
if
Not
he
just mining data, but I mean, I know a lot of people don't have a lot of sympathy for federal workers, but they have upended people's lives,
exactly. Mm.
people's careers. We all, want to have a successful career, and we work hard to do it. These people did too, and a lot of them just got just
Right.
spot at certain times in your life where it's not easy to start over again. I mean, it's a little easier when you're 20, but some of these people were let go before retiring.
Yeah.
Where are they going to get a job? So, it's Musk is, I'm sorry, I just think Musk is a big baby. Yeah.
A drug addicted baby. There's a piece in the Times today about his use of drugs throughout the time he was in Washington, and still is probably. I don't even know the names of the drugs, but he's on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that comforting to know that he, was doing all that damage, had all that power,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
the president's ear,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
But yes, I'm glad he's leaving.
Um, what else? Anything else that came out
Um,
to you in the news this week that?
well, let's see. I had just written down a few things. Well, let's talk about the Oklahoma
Hmm.
schools.
Hmm.
Some of you might remember way back, I think it was back in 2024, where they were going to put Bibles in every classroom. And apparently that was passed by the Board of Education there, with the support of their state superintendent, Ryan Walters, who is a big Trump supporter, and obviously supports Christianity in schools. So the next thing that they have done now is they're going to, the schools are going to be required to teach discrepancies. This is how they worded it in the 2020 elections.
What does
So
that mean? Teach Oh, I got it. Yep.
yeah, discrepancies. So they're talking about stop the steal
Hmm.
effort by Trump,
Hmm.
saying that the 2020 election was stolen from him. So they're going to teach that in the schools. So that was another cartoon that I did on my Substack, addressing that issue, and also just the broader issue about teaching religion and teaching Christianity in
Right.
schools.
Which is
You know,
wrong. Yep.
there's nothing wrong with teaching various religions. I mean, I went to school when I was in first grade through third in Sweden, and I actually had a religion class, but we were taught about all religions.
Right.
You know, taught
Right.
one specific religion is correct.
Well,
We're
it's good
just
to know about religions. It's good to
well,
know about all the different, yeah.
absolutely, and I don't remember having a problem with that as a young child. I thought it was interesting.
Mhm.
But to just sit there and say we're going to teach religion and teach the Bible like that is the word,
Right.
you know, I'm sorry, that's not a
Yeah.
school
No,
role.
I agree.
So, but that's all I have, unless you want to talk about the Jake Tapper book.
Oh, right. I did a cartoon about that this week.
What do
This,
you think about that? We haven't talked about it. Tell me your thoughts.
uh, it really annoys the heck out of me. I'm sorry. I mean, I know there's a story there about Biden, his decline, his mental, his aging, and perhaps the cover up among his close knit family and confidants. Um, we know that. We knew that. But I don't think at this point there needs to be, first of all, I mean, okay, maybe there should be a book about it. I don't care. Why not have a book about it? But CNN was hawking that repeatedly. I didn't see a lot of it because I stopped watching CNN just because I don't find the news helpful from CNN right now. It used to be helpful, but now I'd rather get my news from the newspaper or from the online. Um, but you turn on CNN and, when he's on his show, and he's hawking the book repeatedly, and then other correspondents from CNN were hawking the book, like trying to push it as if it's the most important thing happening right now, which it is not. We have a 5 alarm fire going on in our government, and that's what we need to pay attention to. Not like, okay, the past is the past. We need to focus on that so we don't do it again. But yeah, that's what I feel about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I mean, Jon Stewart did a
Oh,
really funny
he did
sketch
great
about it,
stuff.
where yeah, I would encourage everyone to go find that. They pieced together all the different little CNN clips that Liza was referring to, and it
Right,
was actually quite hysterical. But on the basis of the about the book, I agree with you. I mean, it's not as though that book shouldn't be written,
right.
but it's it's just not important right now. He's
Mhm.
not in office, and frankly, we have someone really dangerous in that office right
Right,
now. I mean, I
right,
know books are obviously months and months and months of work in advance, but to just push it so hard right now just to get sales
right.
isn't helpful. Like you said, it's not a conversation that's helpful to what's going on right now. As I said on my Substack, because I did a cartoon on that book, I said, what I really would like to read is a book that explains to me and everyone else how two incredibly intelligent, capable women, one a vice president, who run for president, both lose to what we have now. And explain that to me. Explain sexism in this country. Explain the racism. I don't, sure, uncover, cover up for an old president that we all knew was having issues.
Mhm, mhm,
But explain that to me. How can we
mhm.
be a country who hasn't had a woman president? It isn't as though there haven't been some that are quite capable. I mean, just let's all picture Trump as a woman, and would he have been elected? No,
Not at all.
no.
That's it. So I was just talking this morning with my husband about that, how um, I told him the story. You and I were on stage in Switzerland, and one of the audience members asked us, you know, is the United States ready for a woman president? And I just said flatly no.
You did.
Not that I like that answer. I don't like that answer, but we're not ready. And if the Democrats start pushing AOC, who I think is great, for 2028, or even, I'm sorry, Pete Buttigieg, we're not ready for a gay president either, unfortunately. So it's why are we like that? Why is this country so? It doesn't
I
make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make any. It doesn't make me. I don't understand it when there's so many. I mean, you and I both met when we were in Geneva. We both met the first woman president of Switzerland.
Switzerland. Yeah,
And
that
I
was
think it was in the 70s, right? She was president in the 70s. And this smart, wonderful, personable woman, and I thought, well, they can do it. They can do it. Oh my God, almost 50 years ago. Why can't we do
I
it?
know. India did it. So many places have done it, and places that are even possibly more sexist than the United States.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um, I don't have an answer for that. We need a book, somebody to write the
You need
book.
a book. Yeah.
A new
You
book about the sexism in the United States. Um, yeah.
so
I
anyway,
mean, Trump also, my cartoon was about Trump, his, his babbling, his inability to string sentences together and make sense and going off on tangents. I mean, he's much worse, I think, than Biden was when he was in office. So,
well, I mean, just the fact. I mean, going back to the sexism thing. I mean, think about it. Biden did have a disastrous debate, right?
yep.
But then let's recall the debate between Trump and Kamala.
Really. Oh, Kamala. Yeah.
She did great. He did
Yeah.
awful.
I
Didn't
know.
seem to make a difference.
I know.
Why? I mean, it doesn't. I think we have some inner searching to do in this country.
Mhm.
I mean, I can even remember when she was first running. After Biden decided to step aside,
Mhm.
it might have even been CNN was going around the country and asking people their thoughts on it. This one guy from Middle America just flatly said, "No, I'm not going to vote for a woman.
Mhm.
She's not able to. Women can't do this." I'm like, what? Where have you been?
Yeah, I thought something else that might be contributing to it is the whole right wing media conglomerate feeding the narrative to their followers, the Fox News and all the talk shows on the radio, you know, i- i- perpetuating this that women are not capable, and they don't necessarily say that out loud. They say it in very subtle ways, so that it gives many people, men and women, permission to hold those beliefs and act on them.
Yeah,
So, mhm.
that could be. Yeah.
Well, that was great talking to you. I guess we should probably end. We have 873 people here. Nice to
Oh,
see
good.
everybody here.
Thanks for
That's
coming,
great.
everyone.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about next week, I guess, at
Yeah,
some.
let's do it again next week.
Okay.
Okay.
Good to see you,
Thanks
Liza.
again. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye.